Hello, Gary. This is my first ever YouTube video, but I want to get right into it and respond to some of the videos that you've been making. I saw one of your videos last week, and you were trying to discourage people from breeding irresponsibly, and you were talking about if anybody has a plan or a blueprint in mind that they think can help us solve these problems that you've been talking about. Um, so I wanted to cover a bunch of really futuristic ideas that I've been kicking around in my head and that I've read about online, involving biotechnology and kind of having like a hedonist perspective on it. So these are some of the ideas that people have come up with in science fiction, and hopefully we'll have these in the future. One of them is called wireheading, and that's like what you've seen sort of in the Matrix, where people can have direct stimulation of their brain, like through connections that can basically make it so that you can experience any feeling that you want, any feeling that you can imagine or that you ever wanted, and that you can have this feeling for as long or as intense as you want it to be. For as long as you could want it. It would probably end all pain and suffering in the world if everybody was hooked up to one of these machines. But on the other hand, it would probably end the human race, because once you're laying on your couch feeling sheer bliss and you can feel as high as you want, whatever, you're going to have no incentive to go out and to go to work, or to have kids, or to do pretty much anything. So everybody would basically be hooked on that addiction as a new addiction, but it would solve a lot of problems. Then some people said that, well, once we're all hooked up to these kind of machines, we're not going to be able to make decisions really anymore. So possibly we could have these rational agents like machine artificial intelligence that we could offload all of our negative emotions onto. Like if we couldn't just eliminate all the suffering and things like that, we could offload it onto machines who could then deal with all the drudgery and the bad feelings and the bad things, and also they could make rational decisions for us. Just a thought. Or maybe they could help us make intelligent decisions. One of the second things is designer drugs. We're already doing that now. A lot of people in America are on drugs for different types of disabilities they have, anti-anxiety medication, etc. But I believe that eventually the pharmaceutical companies will be able to make drugs that are 100% perfect with no side effects whatsoever. They can cure any illness that you have, and you could have regular well-being. You could be stable. You could have clarity, control over your emotion. It could give you positive motivation in life to do whatever you thought you wanted to do with life. It would eliminate despair and helplessness and suffering. But there'd have to be a review of the ethics and the morals surrounding, science and research, and would it be morally right to give these drugs to people? And there's a lot of things surrounding that. Another idea is to eliminate human and animal suffering and starvation, namely with genetically engineered vat-grown meat. So basically, I think scientists are working on this now. They haven't figured it out completely yet, but they will eventually. And we will be able to grow meat in vats from cells that are just replicating. We won't have to kill any more animals. Everybody in the world can have food. Once we get this going, it's infinitely scalable basically, and it could be spread throughout the world. It could end world hunger. Something that we could do to the animals, people say, well, okay, maybe we'll take care of ourselves, we'll end our suffering and starvation, but what about the wild animals? What about all the animals in the world that can't think like we can? How are we going to help them? Well, we want to take care of them. Possibly at some point, once we map out the genetic code of all the species on the planet, we could possibly rewrite their genetic code take out the parts in there that make them want to consume other creatures, and we could feed them this vat meat. We could take care of the less beings that are like on our planet. We could restructure the entire world ecosystem to eliminate suffering. That's one idea with the vat-grown meat. Then, even further down the line is my last idea. Virtual reality is one kind of aspect. Some people say transhumanism will be. I don't really understand transhumanism enough. I'm still reading about it. I'm still reading about all these things, so I don't claim to be an expert, but these are just ideas. So maybe in the future we will be able to have digital consciousness. Like they could take your consciousness and put it into the mainframe, basically. So you would be separating your mind from your body. You wouldn't need your body anymore. You could live forever. You could take any shape that you want. You could have infinite resources to do whatever you want with. You could have any combination of a life. You could have your life just be the same as it was before, only you don't need to eat, you don't need to sleep, you don't need to stop for anything. That's virtual reality. Another thing is designer babies. We're already doing this to some extent, but we haven't quite figured it out yet. So that people could design their children, basically. We could have implants in embryos that could detect problems with a child's birth before it happens and repair those things before the child was born, so it could detect if there was going to be retardation or cancer or multiple sclerosis or anything like that, and fix it ahead of time so there wouldn't ever be anybody born like the elephant man you refer to with a shitty life. We could design the emotional spectrum of our children and regulate it so that they wouldn't even have the lower end of the spectrum of depression and all the things like that. They wouldn't necessarily be able to even experience those emotions. They would be just happier, engineered to be happier, more productive people, and they wouldn't be predisposed to mental disorder or anything like that. We'll have artificial wombs where, like test tube babies, we can grow children in artificial wombs and monitor the entire process. So eliminate people who are born with problems. I think I may have covered all of my topics, though I'm sure I'll think of more things to say later. So yeah, looking for people's thoughts on this. Like I said, this is my first video, so let me know if there's anything that I could do to make it better. Is it too dark? Can you not hear me well? Anyway, yeah, Gary, let's talk about this. Peace out, guys.